Welcome live here to Racing Hotspot Weekend Roundup. It is, well, April 20th. So what does that mean? Happy Easter, everybody! So, whoops. See, I'm the most organized person ever. I didn't even have my show lineup and presentation ready. So, as you see on our screen, Happy Easter and the Easter eggs and stuff like that. So here's your, I'm sorry, this is kind of funny. Here's your show lineup. Formula 1 and the final lap. So now on to Formula 1. They raced the China Grand Prix earlier today. Oh, first of all, I'd like to say that after this recap real quick, top 5, we have a special guest who is probably going to be on here a lot, and we'll get to that in a second. So here's your top 5 for the China Grand Prix. Sebastian Vettel finished 5th. Nico Hülkenberg finished 4th. Fernando Alonso finished 3rd. Lewis Hamilton finished 2nd. And Nico Rosberg won the race. So now, we are going to bring on a Racing Hotspot first. Here, to let us, well, we're going to have on right now, this is a pre-recorded, literally a couple minutes ago, Peter Long. He's been following Formula 1 for the longest time. So, you know how I am like a NASCAR know-it-all? Oh, Keselowski, Stenhouse. Nobody races that truck anymore. This guy, you know what I mean? I can pick out anything. That's him with Formula 1. And, yeah. So now, to introduce you to our new Formula 1 analyst. So, now to bring in our, I guess, would you say new Formula 1 analyst?
Sure.
Peter Long. How are you doing today, Peter?
I'm doing well. Happy Easter.
Yes, happy Easter to you. So, talk to us about the weekend in Formula 1 racing.
Well, round 4 of the World Championship went pretty much like the first 3 rounds. It was Mercedes dominating with a 1-2 finish, just like they did in the last 2 races in Bahrain and Malaysia. In the first race, of course, in Australia, Hamilton had the pole, but had mechanical failure and did not finish, so Rosberg won that race. But 3 wins in a row for Hamilton, which is the first time it's happened in his career in Formula 1. He's actually won 3 races in a row in other race leagues, and each time he's done that, he's won the world or the championship. So bodes well for him. Mind you, he's still second in the standings, driver's standings, again because of that DNF in Australia. Rosberg won that race, and he's come in second the last 3, so he maintains the Drivers' Championship lead over Hamilton. Little rivalry definitely developing between those two, and I'll get to that in a minute.
Okay.
In the Constructors' Championship, obviously Mercedes leads the pack by far. Really this season, you know, with the introduction of the V6 turbos, getting away from the V8s, big changes. The Mercedes power plant obviously is the one to go with, as they're probably finishing 8 of the top 10 places. So teams like Williams, which is running the Mercedes engine, and Force India, doing very, very well this year. But definitely Mercedes, the factory team, is doing well. Even McLaren started off doing well with the Mercedes engine, but last couple of races they haven't had a very good race. Let's see, this weekend they're in China. The practice sessions and qualifying were all in rain. Today was a dry race, so a little different. Interesting thing happened today during the race. Again, Vettel was asked to let his teammate Ricardo pass. And after he did that, the radio transmission back from Vettel, he asked him what kind of tires he was on. And then after he said that, he went, tough luck. So he was ignoring team orders for a couple of laps, slowed him down a bit. and finally let him go. Or I think he was in the clag, so he lost a little grip, so Ricciardo was able to pass him. But you could tell Vettel is not happy at Red Bull this year after winning 4 straight championships with Red Bull. His teammate Ricciardo, an Australian, who replaced Webber, of course, who retired at the end of last season, also an Australian, is doing much better than Vettel this year. He finished 25 seconds ahead of him after that pass. So interesting stuff going on at Red Bull. They're off the pace, obviously, in the straight line. They don't have the speed. And they're, of course, running the Renault engine. Ferrari this year, big changes. Actually, and one more thing about Red Bull. After Ricciardo's second place finish in Australia, he was disqualified because of a fuel flow meter, which they used, which was against the rules. Of course, Formula One does not refuel, so they have so much fuel to use for the whole race. I believe it's 100 liters.
Yeah.
And fuel flow meters are 100 meters per hour, which means they can get through an hour and a half race because they're not obviously on throttle all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So the decision to disqualify him was upheld in the courts this week, so he did lose at that second place finish. And, of course, the constructor lost those points also. Ferrari, big changes. Stefano Domenicali, the team principal, was or resigned. We don't know if he just resigned. That's the official version, or if he was pushed out because Ferrari's had a poor start to the season. He was replaced by a gentleman called Macchielli, or Macchiava, I'm sorry, I don't remember, who was the North American Ferrari rep. Not much Formula One experience, so it's going to be interesting to see how that develops for Ferrari. But Ferrari had their best finish of the year with Alonso finishing on the podium in third place. Well ahead of, actually not well ahead, he was almost overtaken by Ricciardo, who was 3.5 seconds behind him at one point and finished 1 second behind him. Wondering if Vettel having held up Ricciardo for a couple of laps and losing a couple of seconds, whether that could have been a difference between a podium for Red Bull. So I got a feeling Vettel is going to get a talking to after this race, his behavior on track and ignoring team orders.
Yeah.
Raikkonen, the other Ferrari, again, disappointing for me because he's one of my favorite drivers. As you can see, I'll show you a little Lotus gear. See that? Of course, when he was Lotus last year, did very, very well. So I was excited to see him at Ferrari, but he's been disappointing so far this year. Finished 8th today. And Alonso, of course, stays in third in the Drivers' Championship behind Rosberg and Hamilton. So great race. I still feel last week's race was one of the best Formula One races I've seen in a long, long time. It was very exciting to see the two McLarens fight each other, the two Red Bulls fight each other, the two Williams fight each other, and even the two Mercedes with Rosberg trying to overtake Hamilton last race. It was incredible. Today's race wasn't as eventful. Hamilton led right from the beginning. Nobody came close to him. So looking forward to the next race, which is on May 11th in Spain. Start their European leg.
Okay, well, I saw the highlights of the last race, and that was crazy. Yeah.
It was, especially because if you look the way the cars lined up, it was always like the two team cars were always right next to each other and they were fighting for position. So it's rare in Formula One where they have team orders, and of course their priority is to get as many points for both cars. They certainly don't want to see both cars crashing into each other and taking each other out. I mean, it's happened at Red Bull between Webber and Vettel a couple of years ago, and team principals cringe when they start seeing both their drivers fighting each other, and it's normal that they've got the same car, so of course you'd expect if the drivers are the same caliber, they'd be at the same spot in the racetrack fighting it out.
Yeah. Darn it, I lost my thought. Yeah, so I know with NASCAR they have like the team owner, like I'll say Hendrick Motorsports, they have 4 drivers, and when their 2 teammates are battling, the slower car, time-wise, Rick Hendrick would come over the radio and say, hey, so-and-so, back off, let him go. I'm not sure. Would that be the same for Formula One?
Well, officially, team orders are illegal in Formula One, but we know they happen all the time through code. So, if they basically say, "Hey, this guy's slower than you," that's the signal of letting him go. And yes, it's the same. If they've got a car that's performing better, they want that car to lead and maybe get other positions. So they don't want to slow him down by fighting with one of their drivers on their own team.
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting, in Formula One, drivers always want to be number one within their team, and that's why I think Vettel is having a hard time this year after being undisputed number one at Red Bull and winning 4 world championships, having Ricciardo out-qualify him and out-race him and leading him in the championship. It must be hard for Vettel to stomach, for sure, and you could see some frustration with some of his radio transmissions today that he's not happy about that. And, another person who's very unhappy, I would imagine, is Rosberg. Although he leads the championship, he came in second 3 weeks in a row, or 3 races in a row, I should say, to Hamilton, who's definitely on a charge. And so I think that's going to be the big driver rivalry this year between Rosberg and Hamilton. Ferrari, Alonso has proven that he is a superior driver. Like I said, I'm disappointed in Raikkonen. Thought he would give him a fight this year, but been qualified, outraced consistently this season.
Okay. Now, one question for you. How do you watch these races? Because, I'll be going through the program guide, and I'll see the races on at, 2:30 in the morning. I'm like, what? How do you watch them?
DVR.
Oh, that's what my dad said. And I'm like, makes sense. Okay.
Well, I have the whole season set to record, so it records. We only get free practice 2. Now that it's on NBCSN, it used to be on the Speed Network.
Yeah.
And they would carry 2 practices, but they're only carrying a free practice 2 and then qualifying in the race. They also have a pre-show, which I don't record, but I just watch the practice and then qualifying in the race, and I never miss a week, or I never miss a race.
So it sounds like me with NASCAR. Okay. So, is there anything else you would like to add, looking ahead next week, next race, or?
Well, I'm just going to expect more of the same. I think, like I said, the Mercedes power plant is supreme, and the factory team of Mercedes have won all 4 races this year. 1 to Rosberg, 3 to Hamilton, and they've come 1-2 the last 3 weeks. So I would expect them to continue leading the pack, and then Red Bull, Ferrari, Force India, Williams, I think they're all going to battle it for second. I don't think it's... I think it'll be interesting to see how Rosberg and Hamilton, develop. Hopefully they won't take each other out and hurt either one's chances of winning the World Championship. But I think Mercedes is definitely on the right foot right now.
Okay. Now, just for the viewers to get to know you a little bit, I assume you've been to a couple Formula One races, right?
I've been to probably 20, 25 Formula One races. Of course, the only Formula One race in North America, or in North America for the longest time, was in Montreal, and that's where I'm from. So I will be there at the race this year. Again, I've been there the last couple of years. Usually I'll go every other year, but I've been going the last 3 years now, I believe. And I think my first race was in late 70s, so I've been going to Formula One races for over 30 years.
Wow. So now, what was your favorite Formula One race out of the many you've gone to? Do you have one?
Well, there was one race where a car came on fire, and Ayrton Senna's car caught on fire, and he came out right to the fence, and I got some video of him talking. Of course, Ayrton Senna, a legend in Formula One, who died in a tragic accident. One of my favorite races, of course, being from Montreal, being from Quebec, is watching Jacques Villeneuve win the World Championship for Williams in 1996. I remember watching that race with my family. It was awesome. Schumacher, at that time, had crashed into Jacques Villeneuve with a few laps left because Schumacher was leading the World Championship, but it ended up, he was just trying to wreck his car and say, well, if we both don't finish, I win the championship. But fortunately for him, his is the only car that didn't work after. So Jacques Villeneuve ended up winning the championship. So that was exciting. Schumacher, of course, for those who don't know, is battling for his life right now. He had a skiing accident in December. The winningest driver in Formula One, won 91 races, 7 world championships, had a skiing accident, and you'll see on the sides of a lot of the cars, Keep Fighting Michael. The Formula One cars, the Mercedes, of course, both have them, being a German company, and Schumacher being German and having come out of retirement from Ferrari to drive for Mercedes for a couple of years. When they first came back into Formula One. Mm-hmm. So thoughts and prayers to Michael Schumacher.
We've been following that story, I guess, since the accident happened. He is starting to come out, starting to wake up, I believe, or something.
Again, I followed it closely for the first 3 months, and there was not much change. But yes, I did hear a couple days ago that I guess he is starting to slowly wake up. So hopefully, hopefully this ends well.
Yep. Okay, so anything else you would like to say, like just regarding the show or anything?
No, welcome to all you F1 fans out there, and if you have any questions, feel free to send them to Devin, and I'll do my best to answer them for you.
Yep, so if you have any questions for Peter, email me, and then I'll just forward them to him, and yeah, I'll be the middleman. So, awesome. Thank you for being on. On the other side of this break, we're going to have your virtual race, then the final lap, and that will be our show. So we'll be right back. Welcome back, live here to Racing Hotspot Weekend Roundup. I qualified 8th for Richmond. 8 laps, qualified 8th, a car a lap. Can I win? Let's find out. Green flag is in the air at Richmond. Rolling up the track. Got to the bottom. This is where I'm the most dangerous. 3 wide off turn 4. Oh no! A big wreck and I'm involved. I had a feeling 3 wide was not going to work. Look at that. Oh! Looks like I lost all my track position. Let's find out where I am. I'm 9th. Let's try not to finish worse than where I started. Lap 4 of 8. What do you guys think? Can I do this? Let's find out. Oh! Oh no! You didn't see this. You never saw anything. Oh no! Boyer on the outside! Contact! I have one more. You're allowed 3. I have one more here. This is my last one. Oh, there goes Bush! Ah! Took me out. Lost all the positions I gained. I was gonna crack the top 5! And then back to 8th. I shouldn't finish any worse than 8th. If I do, I'm not gonna be happy with myself. Green flag in the air. Crisscross move! Here comes the 5 now, white flag! Anything goes on this last lap. Got loose. 7th. Oh, we got a wreck. Holy cow. And that's this week's virtual lap. Well, I have to say I am pretty proud of myself because I just worked, I was at 7th. All the other weeks I've been 43rd, 42nd, back deep in the field, but this time I wasn't. Sorry. Okay, like I said, if you just missed it, our secondary camera's gone down. So now, we're going to have to do it this way. So here's our virtual lap, final lap. There you go. Sunday, 3 p.m. IndyCar. Sunday, 3 p.m. on NBC Sports Network. Formula 1 is off until May 11th. Global Rallycross is off till May 17th. Camping World Truck Series is off till May 9th. The Nationwide Series returns this weekend, Friday, 7 p.m. on ESPN News. And the Sprint Cup Series returns Saturday, 7 p.m. on Fox. See what's going on in social media here. Do some short track analysis here real quick. Nothing going on. Check Twitter real quick for you. That's a cool thing. Happy Easter, Talladega logo written on an Easter on an egg. McLaren to sue Red Bull over follows row. Hold on. Follows. And nothing going on. Nothing is going on Twitterville. Okay. So, next week's show, where you have almost everything back. IndyCar's back, and NASCAR's back. Then I believe the week after that, after next week we go to Vermont. Then after that, we have everything back. So, join us next week. Same place, same time. I'd like to thank Peter Long for being a part of the show. Depending on how this went in his eyes, depending on how he felt this went, he might be back. Then again, he might realize that we're complete and utter nuts, and might not. Or he might realize that we're nuts and want to come back. I don't know. As I said before, if you have a question for him, email me at racinghotspot@gmail.com, and then I'll send them to him, and then he can send his response back to me, and I can send it back to you. I'll be the middleman. Yeah. Like us on Facebook, at Racing Hotspot for Twitter, and YouTube. Subscribe to us. We have now 33 subscribers on YouTube. We're getting our way up there. So, have a good Easter, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the day. I hope the Easter Bunny was good to all you guys out there who are kids and watch the show. So, have a good day, everybody. Happy Easter. Join us here next week when we review the weekend of racing. Same place, same time. Goodbye.